It's time to light the fuse and find out who's won the Mad Bomber video competition. Before we go there, there's always that really short warning. I'd like to show you something first. Here's a short 40-second clip by me.
Well, 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 I've seen it all now. Look who's pulling milk these days.
It's better than a load of coal.
It's not coal, it's a top secret load.
Oh, who for?
The gentleman who put us on the rails, the grand designer.
Oh, I've heard he's connected to the bombings on the East Line.
Rubbish. That's all small engine talk. Don't listen to a word of it.
Well,
Your line's clear, you better move on. And don't get caught up in all that mad bomber chatter. It'll be the end of you. Oh, yeah. Well done, mute.
Rightio. What you just saw was really basic, stripped back and shot really simply. There was no slow motion used. There was no fancy special effects. There was no fancy audio used. It was all basically shot around this very small set and a couple of characters. So what was driving that? What was the force behind that video? It's pretty simple. It was this. What's really important to understand is the script ends up driving the edit, and certain words and lines in the script become your cutaways and your points of interest to keep it visually interesting and keep the audience watching. And just going in and looking at the script and the words in the first line, like the words milk, become a cutaway, and better than a load of coal can become a cutaway of the crane. Like even emphasizing the grand designer, making sure it's a two-shot there, because we're talking about trains, and it's really talking about who put both of them on the line. So absolutely important, the script comes first. It has to. You can't, if you go the other way around, it's going to be a nightmare. You're never going to do it. You've got to comply to 40 seconds. The only way to do that is to do the script first, read it through and time it. Even the explosion is detailed briefly. Explodes just as Henry leaves. We wipe the frame with the trucks and the crane collapses. Okay, we've got this set straight. It's all about the script. If this is done correctly, everything else is going to be fine. You're going to be a winner. What comes next? Well, it's a basic setup here, a couple of trains. There's a crane here. It's about making sure that all our characters are in place and making sure we've got things to look at, which are our cutaways. Okay, let's get up close and personal now. Let's talk about cutaways and how important they are in keeping things visually interesting and tying a story together to the script that you've done. And of course, I used the milk wagons as a cutaway. I used the crane as a cutaway when we spoke about Gordon's secret load. And of course, I think I used the signal here when the line was clear. But also the way I shot the two characters here, I shot them as pairs and I shot them as individuals. And we sort of jump around a bit. And that really is the key to utilizing time, keeping it visually interesting, and the audience hopefully doesn't get bored. Okay, we've enforced how important the script is and how it drives the edit. So what is editing? Well, it's a process of selecting and joining shots. It's a form of time compression, and it's also a way of telling a story visually without words. So I'm going to point you in the direction of some fantastic editing. And look at it in the editing style. Don't get caught up in the stories. Look at the way it's pieced together, scene by scene. Exhibit A. Before I made Rolling Stock, I watched the first series, the episodes over and over and over, and I couldn't work out how do they compress these little stories which have a beginning, a middle and an end into a few minutes of screen time on television. A few things going on there. There's only ever a few characters involved. That's interesting. Why aren't we looking at something which is nothing related to what's actually being spoken? This is really important to understand. I'm going to show you some of the little tricks that I pulled off in my 40-second edit. And it's stuff that everyone's got. I think we've all got train sets. I didn't bring out any of my bombs. You're probably thinking, oh, Leo's got all this stuff that he pulls out and it's all special. Look, this is stripped right back. This is done really simply, just the same way you could have done. And for the opening shot, I tried to pull off a tracking shot. This is the camera I used, and that was the basic setup. And we'll go and have a look at it got cut down a bit. We'll go and have a look at the actual little scene. And there it is as the train's coming in. Tracking shots really elevate videos. They make such a big difference if you can pull them off. Right, now it's probably time for the best tip of the video, and it's about that little action sequence that I did. And this applies to people working like in video, people working in the 3D realm, applies to everybody. It's about filling the frame of action. It's about getting it done in camera and not relying on, oh, I'll fix it up later on with After Effects, or I'll zoom in on that piece to make it better. You've got to shoot it for full frame. This is the key. This applies to the big movies, it applies to little movies. It applies to you, it applies to me. So let's have a look how it was done. Enter my secret weapon, the latex balloon with a tiny amount of talcum powder inside. This was my bomb, and you know what comes next. Very effective bomb. Then I shot scenes of parts of the train moving towards camera, and I did it by attaching a small piece of string and literally jerking the train directly towards the camera lens. And now it's time for Cranky to crash the party. Same thing, a little bit of string and a pull towards camera. Of course, there weren't that many one-take wonders when I did the destruction scene. It took a couple of times to get the trucks to wipe camera. It took a couple of times to get Cranky to fall the way I wanted him to fall, in an interesting way over Gordon. But I always finished with like a beauty shot of the disaster, where everything's sort of lined up and presented the camera so you can see it. And even in destruction, it's got to look beautiful. So there's my tip. Beautiful destruction. I bet you never heard of that before. Okay, it's time to get serious and let's talk about who's won this competition. First up, thank you to everyone who entered. It was a fantastic response, much bigger than I ever expected. To be honest, I thought there'd be about 25 entries, and it's 88 all up on this side of the competition, the producer's side. Massive. So what I've done is I've expanded the prize pool, and you'll see this at the end of the video. There's one very peculiar entry, the audio entry. Very interesting. The judges were completely divided on this entry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to contact that YouTuber one-to-one without disclosing it on the video here, and I'm going to sort you out because I think you're very brave to enter a video competition with audio only. Now, if that audio only entry was married with a video, man, you would have won. You would have come top place. That's absolutely for certain. The audio only entry is really an important reminder to us that it's such an important component of a video. So very brave that you've entered, and very important that as video makers we remember the audio side of our entries. The judging sheets were done on the spreadsheet and they grew as the competition grew. So all up there's basically 2 pages of entries. And we have your YouTube channel here, which was a link. So the judges had the opportunity to go and jump on the YouTube channel, have a look at your other videos, peruse what you're up to, see if you've produced videos before. There was the duration of your entry. That was critical. A lot of people were either shy or they blew out, and that really affected your marks. There was your style, and I'll explain that a little bit later. There was the mark the judge gave. There was just some comments there from me, just pointing out to make it easy for the judges to remind them that this video was a bit short of the mark, this is a little bit longer, and some other underlying issues that were possibly with the video. And then the judges were very nice. They scripted in comments. Now the comments are only to be seen between the judges, and it was a way of proving that everything was above water. I judged as well. Now I told everybody basically that I wasn't going to judge. I was one of the first people to judge. So all the other judges saw the marks that I'd laid down. So they're thinking, oh, well, Leo isn't fiddling this, to somebody he favours. It was all above water. And this is really important. It had to be transparent between all the judges. This had to be done like this, or else you just end up with people second guessing what's going on. Okay, just to explain how I segregated the styles on a judging sheet. We had 3D, we had 2D, Tommy, Take Along, Wooden, Ertl, HOOO, and there was that one audio entry. And that was really there just as a reminder to the judges if they wanted to think back to an early entry that they saw. It could rekindle their memory and they think, oh, okay, that was the one done with the wooden train set. And what we found was that certain groups of these people were sort of disadvantaged because they didn't have the latest toys and gadgets that possibly other entries had. But I've sorted that out in the prize pool as well. The 2 special prizes go to the best of, let's say, the 2 categories which missed out in the top realm. Apart from myself, there were 4 other judges, and they were very generous, and they gave plenty of their time to look through all these entries. The first one we're going to talk about is Sparkshot, or you may know him as Knuckles. Now I've known him for about 2 years on YouTube. We had an admiration for each other's style of work, And like anything, to get to know people, it started off small, and we've kept in contact, fairly loose contact, but we've kept in contact for all this time. And then there's Samierski, and I definitely remember when I got to know him to a next level was he asked me to go and peruse all of his work, great big body of work to do with model railways. And I remember formulating this rather long letter, and from that point we became pretty good YouTube friends. And then there's Mark Absalon. Well, I got to know him via landing on his competition videos all the time and always commenting on people that enter these competitions. And he probably noticed that I was frequently going to his channel and actively working in his channel, and we've got to know each other very well. And then there's Off Planet Films, and it's one of those channels that one day you're clicking around on the YouTube and you think, whoa, what is this? This is good, this is really well made, this is really well produced. What's it doing on YouTube? Why isn't it out in mainstream media? It's funny, you contact the YouTube and you say, look, you know, hi, I'm I'm Leo Kim Video, blah, 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 blah. And most of the times people do not ever reply. Well, these people got to know me, I got to know them, and we've stayed very good friends. Okay, it's time to reveal the winners. And what's interesting here is in the top 3 positions, there was only 1 point between them out of a possible highest score of 50. First place got 44 points, second place got 43, and third place got 42. It was a very, very close competition. For a while there, I thought there was going to be a lock-up in their top 3 positions. Thanks again to all who entered, and I'm leaving the comments open. Have your say if you think there's been an injustice done. Certainly, if you're going to say something, tell me your reason behind your comment, because I'd really like to know it. And thank you for watching.